I find it virtually impossible to get away from Spectrumax as a number one product for people to take. I know that I would take it, would be my number one product out of all the products, even though they all have amazing benefits. But the minerals and trace elements and micronutrients are really the foundation for new cells to be created. But anyway, that is, and the other thing is, an awful lot of diseases could be avoided. In actual fact, I would even say we could, from scientists studying Indigenous people, they don't have diseases because they're living in a clean and they eat healthy food. Job done. But over here in the West, we have, I suppose, we have a very bad relationship as far as manufacturers are concerned with food. They Anyway, I won't go into it. They just strip the food of nutrients, and because of the intensive farming, that the micronutrients and trace elements are not in the products that people buy, the food products that people buy. There are two types. There's macronutrients and micronutrients. In the West, we have more macronutrients, and these macronutrients are like things like our bread and our pasta and our rice, and they are consumed at an alarming rate, and they really are, in today's world, they are quite toxic. They're virtually impossible to digest, and they cause a lot of inflammation in the body, and also they stagnate in the bowel. I suppose really would be stagnation, a lot of bowel problems because of that. And also so that's what a lot of weight people have, a lot are heavy because of the macronutrients that we have. And I'll also say that there's a difference between hunger and starvation in the West, because hungry is when people come in and say that they're hungry or they're starving. They could be hungry or they could be feeling starving, because if the body hasn't got the right the essential nutrients, it will crave these nutrients, and then the person will eat, and then they'll be hungry after a while, and then they'll eat more, and they'll eat the wrong food. So there is a major problem in our so-called modern food system. So in the West, there's macronutrients, so lack of micronutrients and trace elements. And in third world countries, there's a lack of both macro and micronutrients, and that is where they look so thin, they have no weight on they're really emaciated. So in the West, people are fatter than they should be because there's no micronutrients and trace elements, and then there's people are emaciated because they have no macro or micronutrients. So what we do over here is we have our maximal, or what was our maximal. The maximal really changed my life. I suppose it was the first thing that came to our house. And if everybody was to take the Spectrumax, nothing else, only the Spectrumax for a while, even for 3 months, they would notice amazing difference. It would reduce the inflammation, and it would do an awful lot of repair work, healing and repairing. For me, I suppose my mother really was the first one. She it gave her life back. What was then the Maximal from Newiz and from Modere. And also there was, I remember my mother had an ulcer on her leg, and she had made a great recovery with the Maximal. And she came up to visit me once, and I said, I will try the Maximal on the external. I just put a little drop. So I got a little pipette, and I cleaned the area with it was the mouthwash that we had at the time, and then I got a little pipette, and I took the Maximal, and I took a little drop out of it, and I put 2 drops onto the ulcer of her leg, and within a week the ulcer had healed. So I would use it. So really and truly, it's just absolutely incredible. And of course, I have my own story to tell about the Maximal. And I think I told you before about it. And also, so I would say, look, take the maximum. Take the maximal. If nothing else, just start off with the maximal and your water and a bit of exercise, just simple things. And then you can go and use the other products, introduce them into your daily routine. Because the macronutrients, if you're eating bread and pastas and rice, if these are not easily broken down, then they have to be broken down into minute particles in order for them to be absorbed in through the lining of the intestine and into the blood system, and therefore into the repair work, these micronutrients. So the great thing about the Spectromax, or the Maximal as there was the time, these, you can see the trace elements. I mean, they have already been broken down, pre-digested, and they are instantly absorbable into the blood system. So that's why we do that, because of the absorption rate. And the other thing is, these the Spectromax is just absolutely full of nutrients. I mean, you get a concentrated amount of nutrients in the Spectromax. And you would, if you were to eat as much food that you needed, even at a 30 mils that you would take at night time, if you were to eat that amount of food, you wouldn't get it eaten in a week. And of course, the other thing is, we have our addition of our 40, I think there's 40 antioxidants in it. But recently I had my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law, it was virtually impossible for me to get her past 1 month to take the minerals and vitamins. But recently she feels really, I suppose she got that little bit older, and she feels she really needs it. She's taken it for to help her. She's got problems in her intestines. So I suggested that she takes the Maximal, the Spectromax, and the pre and probiotics, and that she also clean out the bowel with the super D that from Sizzle. So anyway, she's stops and starts and whatever, very difficult. But she did take the Spectromax. She said, I'm going to take that now every month because I feel that there is benefits there for me. But anyway, she took it for the month, and she was making sandwiches. She's in the hospitality industry, and she was making sandwiches for her customers. And she said to me yesterday when I was talking to her, she said that she noticed a wound on her hand that hadn't healed for years. I think there might have been a scab on it that hadn't healed for years. And she said she looked at the hand and she noticed that the wound had healed. So we could have a convert on our hands. This is a sister-in-law of mine, who was probably the most difficult, hard-headed, doctor-orientated person I have ever met in my entire life. In actual fact, when I started my mother on the minerals, going way back, she nearly, I don't know what, she nearly threw me out of the house, I think, because she felt I was going against the doctor. But of course, my mother made great recovery, and now here she is. She's after ordering 2 more bottles of Spectromax. So get these nutrients and trace elements into your body. They're pre-digested. They're fulvic, which means that they are already in nature, have been broken down into an absorbable liquid, and once taken, they actually start to be absorbed in through the mucous membrane in the mouth that fast. Just take that for 3 months, and anyway, that's me and my number 1 product. I certainly know that when somebody tells me that there's an improvement, I think that is the most amazing an exciting turn of events. You know, that's all we want. We want the best for everyone. But anyway,